This little dynamic trick is called the hang glider flip. There are, of course, just like so many pole moves, there are a few different variations of this. I'm going to be breaking down and going through one of the most common variations that I see. So before you dive into this flip, you should, of course, be 100% solid in your hang glider. Okay. If hang glider is new to you, or if you're still working on getting more solid with it, check out my other tutorials. You will find one for the hang glider. If you're unable to locate it, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to direct you in the right direction. So I'm not going to be going through how to get into your hang glider. We're just talking about the dynamic move getting out of it. Okay. So from here, the variation that we're going to be going through uses your outside leg as a little assist. Okay. And once again, there are a bunch of different variations, super fun. This is a good one to start with though, regardless of which variation you decide to go with on this. From our hang glider, and you can drop down into it or invert up into it. Okay. I'm going to be demoing inverting up only because short pole problems. I don't have a lot of space if I drop down, but if you're someone that maybe is still working towards a solid invert, or have limited inverts in your body, because that's totally normal too, is feel free to drop down to it. So don't feel like you need to invert up. Okay. So from our hang glider, we are here. We're going to take our outside foot and touch it to the pole. And it's in the front, it's pushing. You can put the flat of your foot, your toes, your ankle, whichever you want, but don't close it. There should be a gap. Once it's there, the other leg is going to swing and come down. Okay? So that foot on the pole gives you a little extra stability. Also, should have mentioned this at the beginning, as with all dynamic pole tricks, make sure that you have a spotter and or a mat that you can do these safely. Okay. This is close to the ground, but still. Okay. So I'm using that outside foot. I'm putting pressure on the pole. That helps keep my hips into the pole. And then the other leg, our goal is to make a big circle around and bring it down to the ground. Okay. Once the feet start coming down to the ground, that kind of directs where our flip is going. You will find with this, as your feet start to come down to the ground, you're going to feel a moment with that arm where it feels a little funny, where you're going to want to release. Okay. And where that timing is of releasing that top arm, your bottom arm is going to stay on the pole the whole time. Okay. And with hang glider, depending on which version you learned or your preference, that bottom hand can be in a cup. It can be fingers down. It's all personal preference, and any of those grips work for this flip. Okay, so don't feel like you need to change up your grip, but feel free to if you want to. So as the feet are coming down to the ground, that bottom hand never leaves. It's just giving you your stability. The top hand, though, as I said, depending on your flexibility, your range of motion in your shoulder, you're going to feel a moment where you're going to want to let go of it. For me, it's not the range of motion in my shoulder. It just starts to feel funny on my wrist, and it's not my favorite. So that's the spot where I start to let go. Okay. But we don't want to let go until our feet are at least a little bit lower than our butt. Okay. So think of, you don't have to plan to release it. For most polars, you're just going to feel a moment where you're like, oh, it feels uncomfortable. And then once those feet are lower, to let go. Okay. So let's go through that again. We're going to slow it down a little bit. From our bread basket, that foot to the pole, big circle down. See where my arm is here? Let go, and you can re-grab if you need to, hand to the floor. See how this hand, I keep this hand right here until I've kind of found my stability on the ground. That's personal preference, right? If you come down and you're like, ta-da, that's fine. Honestly, for me personally, I have worse balance on my feet than I do on the pole. So I like having a little hold there once my feet are on the ground because, I might fall over then. So it's up to you when you release this one. Okay. So you can feel that spot with this arm. And then, like I said, letting go of it whenever you feel like it's getting a little uncomfortable. So I'm putting this all together as one piece. If you get to where you want to do that, you get into your hang glider, you think about circling your leg, and your brain, your body goes, okay? I'm going to go through some little training wheel modifications that you can do to kind of work towards this, okay? Because it can feel really scary to do it all at once, right? So variation of this. It's not going to look as flashy, but always choose life over flashy. Okay. Start with baby steps, training wheels, and then as it gets more and more comfortable, it'll go faster. I'm slowing this down as I'm demoing it for you so you can kind of see a little more of the nuances of what's happening with it. It generally looks much more exciting when it goes fast. It's a much more of a crowd pleaser, but don't rush to get to that point. Make sure that your technique is in the right place, you're ending up in the right place, and then as you feel comfortable with it, it'll start going faster and faster. Okay, so let's break down some little more incremental steps to work towards this drop. Okay, so from your hang glider, everything the same. But instead, now we're going to put this foot here and we're going to bring this other leg, knee here, and then down. Okay, so you definitely still are going to have that moment where you have to bring the leg around. But I find for most polars, it's that big circle around. You almost feel like you're going to go backwards. But by just kind of sneaking the leg through, and then you could see I kind of brought it in to touch the other knee and then kind of curled up into a ball a little bit and then extended my legs down, oftentimes feels a little bit less scary. Okay. If that still feels uncertain or unstable for you, I definitely would highly recommend, if you aren't already, making sure that you have a spotter. And with that, just having someone there at your butt side, just to put some hands there and kind of keep your butt towards the pole, okay? That definitely helps, just to kind of give you a little time to feel where your body needs to be. If you're comfortable with a hang glider hanging out, you have the strength to do this, but sometimes it just takes a little while to wrap our brain and our body around it. And it just takes a little time to connect all the pieces. So sometimes having a spotter to kind of give you a little stability in that moment so that your neuromuscular connections can kind of fire off and know where they are in space and life to make this feel more comfortable. Okay, so hang glider, flippy leg comes around. This actually is only one of two ways to exit a hang glider via the flip. So there's also another option on that, but we'll get to that later. So I hope you've enjoyed this pole tutorial. Keep me posted. I would love to hear how it goes. And of course, if you would like more pole tutorials, a full A to Z library, over 200 tutorials and more building every week, make sure you check out the EBFit Pole app with the A to Z pole library, where you can download your tutorials so they work even when the Wi-Fi doesn't. You'll find more info on it at thepoleapp.com.